Okay, let's talk about decisions. These pesky little things, man. For me, taking decisions has never been easy. I have been verbally called someone who is indecisive. It's really difficult to take decisions, especially big ones, right? And I was watching a video by this guy, Johnny Harris. He's a famous YouTuber, and he was talking about why we feel tired all the time. And besides the, not sleeping, scrolling, or whatever usual general ideas that we have about not being able to sleep well, his idea was that we just had to take too many goddamn decisions. And while I don't know the science behind it, I didn't watch it very carefully, but what I do know is I really hate taking big decisions, and I have been unable to do that for a majority part of my life. And I do them much better now, and I just wanted to reflect upon what changed, why was that so for so long, and just wanted to share this with the internet. It essentially starts from when we were born, actually. So, when you are born, or when I was born, and this is sort of a biography of you and me, things would be slightly different for every single one of us, minor details, but the majority of the things would flow the same. Okay, so we were born, we were given a name. My name is Hamza, your name is something else, and someone decided that this is what we're going to be called for the rest of our lives. And then when we're growing older, we're kind of, not too self-dependent. So when we're babies, we can't even keep our neck straight, right? We generally we're like this for the first, I don't know, many weeks. I have not had a baby myself, so I don't know the timelines, but for a good period in the start, I think we're unable to even do this, right? We're that dependent. So the decisions of when we're sleeping, or what clothes are we wearing, and where are we physically, everything is not our choice. Someone else is making our decisions for us. The only two decisions that we do make as babies is when to shit and when to cry, and we're pretty awful at it. We wouldn't say that we were the best timers when it came to both of these things. So the only two decisions that we were making sucked as well. So of course, it was made for us, every other decision that was there. At age 3, there's a new decision maker in our life that's called, at least when I was young, it was called the school. There are many rules and schedule, and every single thing from when we wake up to when we sleep to what we study and what is important to study is all decided for us, right? So there are two decision makers now. We go to school and we just follow the decisions made by the schooling authority or whatever. We go home and we follow the decisions made by our parents, right? And that is how we spend at least 17 years of our life. So imagine being born at 0 years old and growing up to 17, and majority of the decisions that we take in life is actually taken by someone else, right? And we're just not used to taking decisions. Everything is thought for us. And all of a sudden at age 17, we are asked to make the biggest decision of our lives. What are we going to do for a living for the rest of our lives? That is why all of us feel so freaking out of it when we are hit with that choice, right? Do you remember when you were 17, or you are 17 and now you're asked, oh, what are you gonna do for half of your waking life until your knees fall off, until you're physically unable to freaking walk? What are you gonna do that? Like, no biggie, just tell me that. The authority said after making all of your decisions until that age. So it's a pretty daunting task to be able to do it. And of course, most of us make an awful decision at that point, right? Maybe even that decision is not ours. Some uncle tells us that, there's a big earning potential in this industry. Maybe you are obsessed with something weird and now you think that's your destiny and your passion and you do that. So towards the end of it, we just end up making a decision based on whatever we understood at that point, right? This is where I want to pause and try to reflect, right? So for the majority of your life, you have not made any decisions, any major one anyway, And the first major decision that you make is probably not the best decision to take at that age because you're 17 and you're clueless and you do not have experience of making decisions. So this starts a negative streak. So first of all, you are not dead and you're kind of okay at 17, so you're basing a lot of value and weight on the decisions of other for you. And then also the only sole decision that you made probably is not the right one because you did not have the context, right? So this pre-builds a feedback loop that you're not all that good in making decisions. And decisions do creep up on you as you grow older, right? From what job to take to what partner to choose, I don't know, divorce or remarry someone or adopt a few African kids. There are so many things that you have to make decisions for, and they really impact your life like that. But you have a track record of sucking at making major decisions, and then you also have a track record of other people making really nice or at least decisions that did not kill you, right? So there's a very bad precedence that gets set when you're getting into your adult life. And that really sticks with you for the rest of your life, I think, for most people, right? So what to do next? That's the question, right? We know that we have had history of things that is entirely opposite of what's needed to be done right now to be effective in decision making. So in order to fix this, what I personally did, and I'm sure this would help you out as well, is we need to, whenever I'm trying to fix something, I tackle it by looking at it in two different angles, right? The first angle is mindset, how I look at things, and the second is tactics or even action, you can call it. So you have to tackle a problem by both areas, right? Sometimes just taking action works for the short term, but if your mindset is not the way that it should be, then you really can't overdo it with action, right? And if you have the mindset but you are really lacking in action, the results would be the same. So you really need both areas to be good at whatever you're doing. So the mindset that you need to have to be effective in making big decisions is a couple. The first thing that you need to understand is the people who are making decisions for you, they were not necessarily the best decision makers. Like, you really have to look at it from that lens. Like, they were doing what they felt at that time was the best thing to do. When your parents were raising you, it's not like they were the best parents in the history of parenting. It wasn't that they read a few and wrote a few more books on parenting. They were just doing or taking decisions based on what they understood of it. But it does not mean that those are the most effective decision makers that were there in your life, right? Even your teachers, even everything that we study in school, the whole schooling system, it's a different video, but most of it is useless. Like, personally, I don't even remember a single thing that I learned in my 4 years of pursuing bachelor's in marketing, right? So it's not that these guys were absolute geniuses. So you really need to bring down the value that you put onto the decisions of other people, or you put it in the past. And you really need to put the value up to yours, at least to neutrality, right? So you're meeting in the middle now, and both decisions are of equal value, of neutrality. That's the first thing that you need to do. The second thing that you need to do is you need to accept the fact that there is so much you can do as a human being, right? There are things that are absolutely outside of the control of the human person, including you and me. You know, there are many examples. You can't really magically make cash appear out of thin air right now, or you can't really save yourself from dying, for example. There are so many things in life that you just can't do. I can't physically go through this closet. I would have to use a door to go out of this room. So if you go in for a job interview, you can do the best in your ability to portray yourself as the right fit, but the decision at the end to choose you is still in the hands of the person who interviewed you. You can't really physically make them hire you, right? So you have to give that aspect, like, because when we're trying to make decisions, we really obsess over this should go right and this should have all the outcomes that I need. That one person that I want to sleep next to for the rest of my life, they have to be perfect. Like, I have to have that perfect formula that really ensures that they are the person, right? Or I have to have that exact formula to make sure that I don't end up broke or my business is successful, like all of those things. But there are still things that are just outside of your control. So whatever luck is, and you have zero grasp over it or control over it, you need to have that little let go kind of feeling to your decisions. You need to acknowledge the reality of luck, even in distaste, even in condemnation. You should just accept the fact that these are some aspects that I don't have control over. Okay? So now, number one, you have neutralized the power of other people's decision for you that weren't all that great in a lot of cases. They did not know what they were doing. The second thing is you need to give Mother Luck its grace. You need to accept the fact that no matter what you do, there's always a chance for it to not go in your way, right? So once you have these two areas, once you have these two things, now you go down to taking the action, the actual big decision, okay? So the first action that you should be taking is, and wait for it, measure the pros and cons. Of course, not a brilliant, mind-breaking, breakthrough idea that you have never heard of before, but you'd be surprised how many of us just take decisions based on emotional, in-the-moment feelings, right? So you need to sit down, you need to be able to have the option that you have, and you need to list down the actual pros and the actual cons. And while you're doing it, you should not be in an emotional state. A lot of us make decisions when it's too late and when there are things that are unstable, and we end up doing them in a really emotional state. So once you have the list, you really need to blur out the pros for the moment and really bring in front the cons. One thing that I've learned and realized in life is that a lot of my decisions is not based on what I want, but it's based on what I don't want. Like, what I don't want is ending up homeless, so I want to do this. What I don't want to eat is this thing. I'm not sure what I want to eat, but these are the things that I don't want to eat, right? So a lot of things in life, because they change so frequently, you really can't be certain for what you want, but you can be certain about things that you absolutely do not want. So a lot of times, great decisions are based on avoiding some pain that you really would like to avoid, right? So once you do make the decision and you end up on the bad side of it, the cons that you'd likely to not want to have is absolutely worse than the con that you are okay with or slightly okay with versus the other con. Make sense? So this is primarily my personal way of doing it. There are a couple of other things that I would like to squeeze into this, but the topic is already too long. I see 24 minutes right now on my screen. I don't know how much it would be when it's cut down, but this is enough to digest. So whatever decision that you're taking right now, just try to apply these things over there and let me know how you did in the comments. So I hope you learned something, and I will see you in the next video.